Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Facebook Live Table Talk, Mighty Women's Table Talk. And we are so excited to have everybody here tonight. And we have two awesome couples that we're going to be speaking with. So before we do that, we want to say thank you to Ina and Pipey, who are the founders of our platform. So to them, we want to say thank you to both of them for the Mighty Women Global platform that gives us the opportunity to come here and share this kind of talks with you. And we are just excited, aren't we, Simone?
Very much excited, very much. All the viewers, we would, I just came from a class into here, and I can't wait to share with Jan and Hilda, Patrick and Claudia about their marriages. I'm very excited. Viewers, you're all welcome. And I would love you to share it with as many viewers as you can, because we need to speak about marriage.
Yeah.
We need to speak about marriage, and especially marriages that can survive the storms. Okay? I just wanted to introduce Mighty Women as a whole to you quickly, as viewers that's listening. So we stand for this. It's not a show. Okay? Mighty Women is not a show. It is kingdom orientated. All right? It's bringing all women across all spheres of this whole world together for one purpose. That's to worship one God, and it's for kingdom. And we love to take hands with as many ministries as we can. That to us is very important. There is so much more than just a godly woman. The world has enough women who know how to be smart. Okay? It needs women who are willing to be simple. The world has enough women who knows how to be brilliant. Okay? We need to be simple. It needs women who are pure. It needs women who want to be morally right and socially correct. In a world where women are fighting for their own rights, we at Mighty Women are fighting to put our men back into their rightful place. It's called godly order. We don't see obstacles. I love this one. We don't see obstacles. We see solutions.
There we
go. We would love to welcome you all. If we can just pray, Melanie.
Let's pray. Let's just close our eyes for a moment. Our heads to the King of Kings. Father, we thank you for this night. We give glory and honor to you, Lord. We thank you, Lord, that this is about you. It's not about us. So tonight, if we've come in on any crown for ourselves and we've made up anything for ourselves, we ask, Lord, that you will remove that right now and have your way. Come and speak, Father God, in this moment. And as we speak about marriages, Father, bring forth the covenant anew, O Lord, so that we can understand your ways and work within your ways and your will over the marriages that are out there tonight, Father God. So come and have your way, Lord. This is about you, and we give glory and honor to you, my King. In Jesus' name, and we all say, Amen. Amen. Wow, what an honor, what a privilege. We have two awesome couples. I'm going to start with the couple on our screen. When we look, it's on our left on the screen, Pastor Jan and Hilda. Welcome. We are so excited to be here. And, when we were discussing this, Simone said she's got you guys on. So we're like, yay, this is a couple we know and we've walked alongside with for a couple of years. So we know you and we know your marriage is real and we know what it's like. So that is why you're here, because we want real people. And then we've got Patrick and Claudia Crowster with us as well. Beautiful couple. I've met Claudia a few years ago, and boy, oh boy, she's a woman on fire. Patrick, all I had was your cooking once, and I loved it. Thank you for that. So excited to have you.
And Jan and Hilda can also cook. I don't know, Jan can cook as well. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
You can cook. Before we start, I just wanted to say, while we're going to be on it, Claudia, who wrote a book, it's called Anchored During Anxiousness. Okay, I'm sure we're going to have the Gerrit to put it onto our Facebook page and everything. I would love to commend you on that. Thank you for writing such an amazing book. I am definitely going to order myself this book because it went about the first 21 days during lockdown. And I know a lot of people got anxious and everything. And she's presenting biblical principles to dealing with anxiety and other mental challenges. So I think this is a book for a lot of people to buy. I want to commend you with this, and I pray that this book will go global, and I know people will need to read this. So congratulations, Claudia.
Thank you so much.
It's a
Well
pleasure.
done. We're going to hand over now, if that's okay. So we're going to start with Pastor Jan and Hilda. If you can just in 2 minutes just tell us all about you, the viewers who don't know you like we do. So if you can just introduce yourself and just brief us about who is Jan and Hilda.
Well, hello listeners and viewers. I'm Pastor Jan van Niekerk from Rhema Cape Town North Church, and this is my wife Hilda.
Hi.
And we've been together for a very, very long time. In December, we will be married 30 years.
Wow.
Wow.
As long as I am old.
Almost.
29.
We've been in ministry for quite a few years already. I think
20 years. Yeah.
20 years. And we also have full-time jobs in the IT industry. So, and then we have a lovely family, and our house just gets fuller instead of emptier. And that is us.
That is us. We've got 3 daughters.
You've got,
Our old,
sorry?
we have 3 daughters. Our oldest 2 twins. They live and teach in Shanghai, and we've got 1 little granddaughter. Our oldest daughter is married to a Chinese guy, so we've got the most beautiful little granddaughter called Mika. And then our youngest daughter, Danielle, still lives with us at home, and she's currently studying, guess what? To be a teacher.
Hey.
Nice.
Thank you, Pastor Hilda. Yeah, thank you, Pastor Jan and Hilda, for that introduction. You are beautiful people. We know that. We just want our listeners to also hear that.
Definitely.
And to the other beautiful couple, Pastor Patrick and Claudia, from your side, tell our viewers who you are and what you are about. Let them also fall in love with you like we have. So, yeah.
Well, good evening to everyone and all the listeners and everyone that is tuned in. It's an honor for us to be on the show tonight and just to be of service for the Lord. The 2 of us is also journeying very, very long in marriage. So we are together for...
Let's see if we can remember. Together for
32 years.
32 years.
32 years.
Wow.
So we beat you by 2 years. Yes.
Well
and we have twin boys. Together.
Wow.
Yes, 2 boys, and we have 1 grandson. Who is the king of the house. I'm the second king now. He's the first king of the house. And so that is our ministry for many years. We've been in ministry. My wife will probably say how many years we're in ministry. Pastoring a couple of churches, and we just newly started a new ministry called Steadios Foundation. That's also to do with marriage and relationship building of all spectrum, all spheres of life. That's where we are.
Yeah. He said it all.
Hey?
I say he said it all.
He said it all. It's a privilege to really know both of you couples, and it's a privilege to be able to speak to you tonight. And you just don't live by what you speak, you live by what you do. So, and for me, it's I can say from my side, from my point of view, for me, is I really look up to both of you couples, and thank you for being such an amazing example of marriage and friendship. In this time that we're going through all the storms and things, and thank you for holding on, and thank you for speaking to us tonight. We really, really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we saw the questions.
So now we've got some questions for you, and this is not to test the memory. We know you've been married for long, but this is not to test the memory. This is basically just to find out how the whole love and marriage thing works. Listen, there's a lot of people out there, young people especially, that are too scared to take on marriage. And I'll be absolutely honest, there's a few young people I've spoken to recently, and they're scared of this journey. So that is why we asked for people who have been married for a while, come on board. Let's share that this journey is worth it. It may have its challenges, let's be honest, but it is worth it, and how to actually do this. So to start off, Patrick and Claudia, if you would, guys, now I'm starting with you first, so you're on the firing line first. If you can tell us, how did your journey start? Was it love at first sight? Was it where you didn't like each other at first? How did this whole magical relationship start? How did you start?
Well, we met at a camp. It was a youth camp called Mission to Youth. And Patrick at that time was a regular camper. He had been there a couple of times. For me, it was the first time. So I was at the camp for the first time. It wasn't love at first sight, I must say. But there definitely was an attraction by the time Sunday came and we were to go home.
Amen.
Well, for me, I was a musician and I was playing in the band. And I think Claudia loves singing. And so I think there was a sort of a connection, once she loves singing, I playing an instrument. And so I think that's where we sort of connect with one another. And then, of course, the organization, as Claudia said, Mission to Youth, we had one camp a year and 2 mission trips. And so that gave us some opportunity to be together and sort of like looking out for one another. Do I see you again? But like she said, there was no really spark at that moment, but it was a build-up to that day making a final move.
Awesome.
To make it a move.
I like that. And the final move. That's it. No other
And
move. Final move.
the final move came very quickly because we had a very short courtship. We met 1 year and we got married the next year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a long labor. It was a very short labor.
Yeah.
Dit het lang gewag het.
Ons het nie lang gewag nie. One of the things that benefited us, I think, was that we were both young adults at the time. So we weren't teenagers.
Yes.
And we had previous relationships before meeting. And so I think at the time that we met, Petrol was about, I think he was 27 and I was 23. So we were ready for something more permanent.
More stable,
Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful.
So that's what we were looking for. We're done with the sort of in and out courtship. That's what we would probably say to ourselves. So we were looking for more solid relationship, and that's where it started.
And obviously you had a connection and you wanted to, because you could have met someone else before, but you two felt like this is it, you felt like you wanted to get married. I mean, there were, like you said, there were people before, but you didn't feel that way before, but the two of you felt this is it.
That's
so
right.
That was the melody they made.
Yeah.
Because they were both in music, so they found harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Jan.
Okay, so the two of us met in Durban at the Teachers Training College. I finished military service and was fresh out of high school. And we landed up at the college, and it just so happened that our seniors were a couple. So the two of us became best friends. We were like, everybody called us brother and sister. But really, Hilda was my best friend. And we went around everywhere. At that stage, she was actually in a relationship with my best friend for our first year. But we traveled as a group, and we all went together wherever and we did everything together. So, and then in December that year, I got a job at what was then Jan Smith's Lughawe, or it's now OR Tambo, and I heard that she was going to fly back home, and I went to this the senior I worked in the package department, and I said, this girl, this very, very amazing girl is flying back to Durban today. And I would love to just go and say goodbye to her. And you know what happened? Everything ran late. And by the time they took me so that I could go and say goodbye to her she already boarded. And they called her, they said, Hilda de Beer, please come.
It was the most frightening experience. Everyone is sitting in the plane, ready for takeoff. and they call your name, and you have to leave the aircraft. I didn't know what was going on. I was
I love
thinking,
that.
and when I stepped out, here he was, and I just ran into his arms. I was just so glad that it wasn't a bad thing for the police coming to me.
And I must admit, that was the day that I realized. Sorry, that was the day that I realized that I really liked this girl.
Okay.
And I had to wait in the wings.
Yes, because I was actually going out with someone else, but he was waiting with us. He waited.
Yes, and the day that I heard that she was single, that evening I went to visit her.
Right.
I love it. I love the story.
Anymore. And you know, the end of that year we got married.
Yeah. So you think you were good?
Wow.
We were even
You guys don't waste time. You like put a ring on it and we're getting done.
yes.
But my mom has to
Do it.
say
If you
yes.
know it's the right thing, if it's the right thing, do it. Why wait?
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
right. Yes.
Yes.
So my mom always had this saying, I remember, she said, out of the best friendships comes the best relationships.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that was always just here in the back of my mind. She always, well, she still says it. Okay, I've got a question for you. We'll start with Patrick and Claudia again. Tell me, what does love mean to you? And was it different at different stages of your life? Love.
Love to us means there's a sense of security. Love is caring for one another, closeness. That's what love is. And because if there isn't closeness, if there isn't a sense of security, if there isn't care for one another, what is there? And I think you're getting married because of love, and love needs to hold that as a platform. And for us, that is what it means. So we do care for one another deeply. We do make sure that one another is comfortable and relaxed in our present company. And we look out for one another. It's care. We care for one another. And so that is love. And yes, it's the commitment that's there, that communication and commitment and sense of everything that's there, that you cannot be without that person for a long time. You need them to be with you and around you. And so that's what it is. And yes, over time, it actually grows stronger.
Yes.
Because of the relationship and because of situations that you do face that come into your marriage. Marriage is never perfect, and so you struggle together, you go over hurdles together, and that actually makes us stronger. Our love for one another, it grows stronger and deeper over the years as it goes. So it's a journey. It's a good journey when it comes to our love for one another.
Do you feel that for you it was also a choice during your marriage? Was love a choice?
Yes.
Love, yes.
Yes. And I think you choose, there's different things. First of all, you choose to be in right standing with God.
Yeah.
And so that's important, So, for example, when arguments come or difficulties come or challenges come, a lot of couples today hit the road.
Yes.
But because you have a commitment and you choose to be committed to God, first of all, and then to the marriage and then to the partner. So that's what keeps you in that marriage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the solid grounding, and it's having that affirmed relationship with God that affirms your marriage, because it is the instrument that's used to bind you. So so it's that's such truth, and especially to young people coming out. I'm hoping young people are listening to how this all works and how it's put together, because a lot of times things are separate, but there has to be the decision of putting things together for it to work. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Jan and Hilda?
Do you know, from my perspective, I'm from a broken family. My dad was married 3 times. My mom 2 times. So when I got married, I was not planning on necessarily doing it forever, It was good while it was going. And then they said, oh, they'll never make it.
Yeah.
And one thing, because that was in our before Christ days. So
Yeah.
it was absolute stubbornness
Yeah.
that made me decide that I'm not leaving this man. I will show them. We will do this.
Uh-huh.
And by the time I ran out of will, by that time I committed my life to Christ and he gave me more. He gave me
Right.
insight
Right.
and more.
Absolutely.
You know, but
Love
then I
it.
realized that love is a choice you make every day. You wake
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
every morning
Agree.
and you
Agree.
choose to love.
Love
That's
it.
right.
Absolutely. And sometimes you choose every minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make him choose every minute. But you know, I think as people realize love is not what Hollywood portrays.
No.
Love is
Yeah.
not that the star-struck lovers, the you know, the Romeo and Juliet. True love
No.
is
Yeah.
hard work. It's
Yes.
choosing every day. But the amazing thing is it provides you that safe place,
Right.
that care and comfort.
Right.
Like
Agree.
I think Patrick also said, you know, it grows over time
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
and it deepens. It actually just becomes better over time.
It's true.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely
it's
right.
well worth the trouble, guys. It's well
Yeah.
worth that deciding every minute thing.
And
Love
if
it.
if I can say maybe also that we have to protect that love.
Yes.
And it's not many that gets to that point, Jan and Hilda, in the others, that we can protect that love with all our lives. Because if we say we do, we mean that's the truth. We have to hold one another accountable, and that's because of that foundation and the deepens of our love for one another. So it doesn't matter what comes our way, we can stand any test, any storm, if our
That's
love
it.
is intact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
I love what Patrick just said about, there's different points, and there has to be a point where you're making the choice. Because,
Yes.
and like a lot of people don't reach that point even to make that choice. And that is when things fall apart. And it's sad because, because you know that there is a relationship that can be worked on. And, the old saying of when things are broken, you don't throw it out, you
Yeah.
fix it. But there is some situations that's really a tough one and decisions needed to be made, and we all know that. But for those
Absolutely.
marriages that, just because I'm just not happy with it today, and
Yeah.
where they, years of marriage because they had a week of unhappiness.
Right.
It can't be a week of unhappiness that you're willing to throw the towel away, towel out for years of the marriage and the commitment.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and while talking about this, and talking about the choices, I don't know about you, but did you guys at any point in your relationship had to have made maybe two difficult choices? Marriage is about not being selfish. It's a selfless contribution in marriage because it's not about you or I, it's the us in marriage. If you had to think back, what were some of the most difficult choices you had to make to stick it out? To stick it out and to survive it to where you are right now?
Jan, Hilda?
Okay. You know what? I think for us, there definitely was a very challenging time. I remember, it was quite early in my ministry years, and I thought, this wife, this woman, she needs to go and see a counselor. She needs some counseling. So I found a great counselor, and I promised her that I would go with her. Um, and I took her to this counselor, and it wasn't long, and that auntie got a hold of me.
I wanted to say.
And you know what? One of the most difficult things I think for us is, we grow up with a certain picture of what marriage is, and you hear that the man's got to be the head of the home, and the man's got to lead, and the man,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and because she is definitely a stronger leader than I am, and in terms of work, she's the one with the higher position. It came to a point where I basically forced my will on her, and it became an abusive situation. And in this whole counseling process, this had to be addressed. And I remember specifically a day where she drew the line in the sand and said, if you cross this line again, well, back when you said you're going to the police and you're getting a protective order and you name it. And you know what? It brought me to a standstill. It brought me to an absolute standstill where I had to go and I had to look. And I had to relook my picture of what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I think in the last loads of years that we have been able to work together as a team, and where I can allow her to be herself. And if she doesn't want to share in something of ministry, I don't see it as a personal attack on my life or on my ministry. I see it as she's got something else that she needs to do. And also the same goes if I need to do something, and then she allows me. And I think our partnership has strengthened and grown so much because of that. And I must say, thank God.
And I know many, sorry guys, I know many couples struggle with that because the husband feels he has to take care of his family. But in many households nowadays, it is not the husband who is the breadwinner, but the wife. And that really brings about a whole shift of role and who does what where. And I mean, we went through a very bad patch, as you can hear. But by the grace of God, we really just found our balance with some help. And it was, I think, at that point that we also decided not to sweat the small stuff. Because I said to him at some point, what are you going to tell the judge when you divorce me? It was because of dirty dish towels. He's going to laugh at you. That is ridiculous. And, I mean, I know I don't wash my dish towels very regularly. At that point, I didn't. But I mean, I had a full-time job and kids. I know he also had a full-time job, but I just felt that if it's such a burden to him, if it really bugs him that much, he could also just wash them. Instead, he was ready to leave me for a dish towel.
For sure.
I think it's important that
listening to the two of you, the one thing that stands out and the choice that I see that you had to make, Pastor Jan, is that you had to choose to let go of your ego and allow humility to step in. That is a major choice.
Yeah.
Especially for a male figure in a marriage, for him to release himself of an ego and allow humility. I mean, if Christ could release himself from heaven to walk the earth and be part of who we are, the humility we can learn from him as a son to the Father, in the same as in a relationship. You know, the humility is so important. So that is such a brilliant choice that you made. And it's an important one for all people, you know, who are struggling with this at the moment, because a lot of marriages struggle because it's a power struggle. If the wife's earning more and she's leading, financially she's leading, you know, the ego is messed up when it comes to the male figure.
Yeah.
You know, and it causes so much of trouble. But when you can be humble enough and say, it's okay. It's okay. Then you make the decision made.
I think for us as guys to realize that the position that God gave me to be the head of the home is my spiritual position, and I am the head of the home, and also
still the spiritual covering for us as a family.
Absolutely. And also what I realized is that when the Bible speaks about a wife that has to submit, it's something that she gives. It's not something that can be forced.
Demanded. Yes.
No, it's something that my wife gives me, this support and this
Right.
helping me to be the
Right.
head.
Yeah.
And getting to that point where you realize that it really is an amazing opening. Well, for me it was,
Yeah.
and I think for many
Yeah.
guys, like to realize that once your wife gives you this, it's one of the greatest gifts that you can receive.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Pastor
Yeah.
Patrick and Claudia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we busy writing a book on marriage, and one of the chapters is surviving the first 5 years,
Yes.
because
Oh yes,
that's the difficult period. Jan's agreeing.
Yeah.
we had twins.
And for us, it was a challenging first
First.
2 years.
Yeah.
Never mind the first 5 years. I think within the first 2 years we were ready to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was because I had come into the marriage with baggage. And I had grown up in a home where there was a lot of domestic violence. And my mom was abused both physically and emotionally. And that leaves a scar. And you either come into the marriage and you are abused because you think that is the way marriage should be because that's what you saw from your family, or in my role you come out there saying no man is going to treat me that way. And so
Yeah.
you come into that marriage with that defiance or dominance almost. And of course that causes a lot of issues because you neither of you are able to define your roles because there's this imbalance in terms of I always say to Patrick, submission to me was a swear word.
Many
You
women
were
out there
talking about
actually.
submission, you were swearing at me.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm quite surprised to see that Jan and Hilda were also going through similar things. In fact, when we got married, I was determined that the pastor needed to remove the vows on the section that says, I will honor and obey, because
Wow.
I was not going to honor and obey any man. I wasn't
Wow.
prepared to do
Wow.
that. And of
Wow.
course, that caused a lot of issues. And then on top of it, I was also then earning more than Patrick. So you have all these elements that's adding to the fact that you are an independent woman. And that caused a lot of problems. And then, at one stage, God just dealt with me, and made me aware of the fact that I was not married to my father. And
Yes.
that was quite an eye opener. God had to deal with me and say to me that you are not married to your father. The man that you married has no desire to dominate you.
Yeah.
And that's another chapter in our book on marriage, which says, be my husband and not my master.
Amen.
And like Jan said, when the wife comes into submission, it has to be something that she does willingly and not something that's enforced. Because we often say, wives submit, but there's a section in the Bible that says submit to each other. And I think Pastor Clint Ross says it so beautifully in his book on honor. He says that when a wife honors her husband, there's 3 levels of honor. There's honoring someone in authority, there's honoring someone on the same level as you, and then there's honoring someone in submission to you. So there's 3 levels of honor. And he puts it so beautifully. He says, when a wife honors her husband, she does it as unto someone in authority. And I agree with you, Jan, that as the male, you are the authoritative figure within that relationship. And then he says, but when the husband honors the wife, he does not do it as someone in submission to him, because that's putting her on the level of the children.
Right.
So you're not treating your wife as if she's your child. He says, no, that's not the level of honor. you treat, as a husband, you honor your wife as your peer, as someone on the same level as you. And I think when we get that godly principle correct, then it goes a lot smoother. And I mean, once I had come to the point of realizing that, I think what you said, Simone, in the beginning was that we want to do things God's way. Life is telling us to do it all kinds of ways, but we have to do things godly way. And when I came to that realization that my husband was not my master, he was actually treating me as an equal, but I had not acknowledged that. I had been too short focused because of my past, because of the baggage that I had carried. And once I had let go of that, well, that's why we're still together 30 odd years later.
I think if I can say, I think if I can say this, that you asked the question, so what was the most difficult decision or choice that you must make? So when I came home one day, Melanie Simon, when I came home from work, this is now in the first 2 years of our marriage, I realized that maybe I made a mistake to marry this woman. I don't know who she is, because this is not the same person I was courting. This is the total different person I married. And so for me was, I have to make a decision now to say, I was standing by the gate. I didn't even open the door yet. I was standing outside, and I made this decision and say, I can come in now, pack all my clothes and walk out and say, this is it. Or I can say, I love this person with all my heart, and I want to make a life with her until death do us part. So I have to make that decision and say, what would be the best for you to make at this very moment? And it's as if the Lord has prompted in my spirit, so this is what you need to do, is to love her unconditionally. Is to open that door and show your love. Doesn't matter if she's going to push you back, it's fine. It's to open that door and love her, irrespective of what. And I think for me, that was the turning point around for her. In she, that she can see is not my father, but it is someone that really wants to show my love for you.
Definitely. Before I put next question to you, I want to put a statement out there. Men, your relationship with God, Pastor Young, you said, when you were speaking now, you said, Hilda's, made more money than me, all that kind of stuff. However, I'm still the spiritual head of the house. Yeah. And obviously, Pastor Patrick, spiritual head of the house. I feel, I'm going to make a statement. If the man is right with God spiritually and he's the spiritual head of the house, then it's not difficult for a woman to submit. Then
not at all.
Can I make that statement? That's safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what I heard when Patrick came in and he was talking about when he still at the gate and he was like, should I go in? Because is this the same woman I married? And he wanted to leave. I just heard a whole couple of men roaring and clapping because they're all in agreement. After 2 years of marriage, most men walk in. What did I get myself into? So you were not alone, and there's a lot of people who can learn from your lesson.
Definitely. I'm sure you had challenges, in your marriages, both of your marriages. Talking about challenges again. Is there any big challenge that you had, maybe financially or just any challenge, and how did you overcome that challenge? Because I know a lot of viewers are watching and they are facing challenges in their marriages at this very moment. But what did you do specifically to overcome a challenge?
Is it us first?
Whoever wants to go.
Go, Hilda.
There's an old saying in Afrikaans. It says, when financial trouble walks in the front door, love walks out the back door.
Yeah.
I have seen so many marriages, as soon as they fall upon hard times, it really, the cracks in the relationship, in the marriage starts showing. And I cannot tell you how we did it, because it was really by the grace of God that we are here.
Amen.
But I mean,
Amen.
there was a time where we were both unemployed. We had 3 children, a house to be paid, a car to be paid.
Yeah.
We did lose our children. We ate every day, although we did not have a crumb of food in our own house.
Wow.
So literally by the grace of God. But I know that finances can be,
It's a big
it can
issue.
be a
Yeah.
killer to a family. It can really be
Yeah.
a breaking point.
Absolutely. Yes.
Not if you're on finances, so I think also important question to put in, but because we're thinking about that now. Should husband and wife share finances, or should there be different accounts? But even though if there's different accounts, should you always be knowing what happens in each other's accounts all the time? No secrets.
Yeah, I think that's a choice. Yeah, it's a choice between couples that they have to make that choice. And when we do premarital counseling, we explain these things to couples and we say to them, these are the different options.
Yeah.
However, with Pat and myself, we decided that we were in this for the long haul. We were in this together. So, we put everything into one account.
Yeah.
And we both have access to that account. And we trust each other. I trust that he's not going to spend unnecessarily without consulting me. And likewise, he trusts me to also be a good steward. So it's not a case of, well, I paid the TV, so it's my TV. And you paid for the bed, so go sleep in the spare room because I paid for the bed. We've had one pool and we've worked together because at the end of the day, it's our house.
Yeah.
It's our car. It's our food. It's our children, So for us, it worked perfectly and we still do that today. But we would consult with each other, especially if it's big expenses. What do you think? Can we afford this? Can we buy it now? Or should we wait later? And that kind of communication and open trust is needed in that kind of financial system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we're on this thing now, so I want to ask another thing because we're on the challenges now because I know this. It's just, and it seems it's like klein wolfies.
Oh yeah.
Klein jakkaltjies.
Klein jakkaltjies.
Dat is nou die.
Yes.
Ja.
Wat moet dit nou die goed opeet?
Yes.
Nee?
Yeah.
Subtitles.
Yeah. Melanie, it's a small little foxes.
Oh yeah.
They come into
Yes.
the vineyard and they want to eat
The field on fire.
Yeah. So let's talk before Mel goes on because for me it's challenges.
Okay.
Yes.
Passwords, mobile phones, any password, any mobile phones, anything. Do you close your phone? Do you have a password? Don't you know the password? Do you know the password? Is there complete openness? Because I feel if you say it's my car and my house and our car, our house, all of this, is there room for those little password thingies, or can we speak about that quickly?
And for us, even with our children, they can have a password on, but we share the passwords with each other. So the passwords are to keep the scallums out, in case someone steals your phone, but it's not to keep for Jan looking at my phone or me looking at his phone. In fact, we'd often answer calls on each other's phones because he's in a conference busy and then I have to get his phone. Or the same, I'm on a video call and he has to get my phone. So I feel transparency is super, super, super important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
You must be able to take my phone and check my messages if you want to. And funny enough, as soon as you have a policy like that, you don't really feel like looking at someone else's phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same for
I
us.
think,
And
I think that trust and trusting each other, means that we are open to each other. We've got to,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm preempting another question, but that's part of our, like being intimate, is that we can share whatever is on our hearts and our minds,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
I
we
think
know each other.
for us it's the same, Jan and Elaine. When we talk about Daikle Yakalkis,
Yeah.
again, you've hit the nail on, right, on its head. We talk about trust and we talk about transparency. And I want to say for those who are listening out there, that it's so important in your marriage to be transparent. It's so important in your marriage to trust each other.
Yeah.
And when you can't have a balance in that too, it's a red flag that goes up. Because why am I married to this beautiful woman? Because I love her and I trust her. And likewise, she loves and trusts me. And we are transparent. Transparent is this: there needs to be no secrets
Yeah.
between. I'm talking about the two of us. There needs
Yeah.
to be no secrets, Melanie and Simone, between the two of us. And couples are there who are hearing us tonight. Let's say this: there needs to be no secrets. Claudia can pick up my phone and look through my entire phone. I have no issues with that because I've got nothing to hide. I'm not going to pick up the call and say, excuse me, let me run out and take the call. I take the call in front of my wife so that she can hear my conversation wherever there is. So there is really no secrets between us. I'm telling you, the only secrets, Jan, between us is when it comes to counseling, and that is confidential. And so unless the partner or the couple say, you can share it with your wife, that's about the only secret, Melanie, that we have between each other. But other than that, there's nothing.
Yeah, and I think that is so important. The whole no secret thing. What has kept Pat and I alive, our marriage alive as well, is that even when it comes to the opposite sex flirting, with either one of us, even that is not a secret. We will go to each other and say, we had a saying where I would go to him and say, iemand is besig om in jou slaai te krap,
Right.
Someone's trying to get, and he would do the same, and I would say, wys vir my, and it would be so.
That's important.
It wasn't something that the enemy could even use because it was already exposed. It wasn't something that I could hold and think, I wonder if I'm going to see that guy tomorrow. Or I wonder if I should dress up because, he might come down the passage. No, because even that wasn't a secret. We would say to each other, this woman, Pat would say to me, this woman's flirting, and I would say, okay, show me who it is, and that way we could also protect each other.
Yeah.
So again, it comes to that whole thing of trust and transparency and protecting what you have, and not looking on the outside for, maybe there's someone better. I'm committed to what I have.
And I think if I can add to that, I can also say this: the minute you keep that to yourself, the minute someone has flirt and you keep it to yourself, and she doesn't know about that, that is already a wrong. So that's already a foothold.
It's
already a foothold for the enemy to come in.
Yes.
So now you are going to entertain that because she doesn't know about it. So I'm going to look forward for tomorrow if I see her again. So now you start the journey. Before you know, you are deep in it that you can't get out of it. So expose it right from the beginning.
Wow, you guys have gone deep and really important points, and very important, especially for young marriages. And I think my heart, for me personally, is a lot about the young marriages because there's, like we said, people are afraid of decision making, but this is real life, and you guys are giving us value for money here. You're bringing out what is real and how it can be overcome. There is situations, yes, that's going to come your way, but this is how we overcome it, and you've given us that, and that is amazing, and that's the kind of information we need especially, where people have come from broken homes, like you were talking about, Claudia. They don't have the answers. They looked at broken marriages. Even Hilda, you also spoke about what was an example for you. And that's the picture you end up having about marriage. And
That's
you
right.
could so quickly make a choice based on what your experiences were, instead of developing new experiences with the person God has put you with. So what you guys have said is so valid and has such value for the marriages of today. And so thank you for that. I'm going to very quickly, because we're running out of time, so I'm going to very quickly ask, we're going to skip now, we're going to move to the last question because of time. How would you encourage, there's so many young people out there. Firstly, how would you encourage them, that they can move away from, and I'm going to just move with a couple of questions that we've put down, is your intimacy. That's the one thing a lot of people believe the honeymoon phase will last forever. And how would you encourage them that these things don't last forever? Intimacy moves to different levels at different stages of your marriage. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I mean, I've been married now, 24 years, so I understand that portion. And at first it was difficult because you compare your marriage to other marriages, and that's a loving couple. And, why my marriage, why my husband's not holding me as much, but there's a different sense of intimacy at different levels, and we all need to learn that. And that's important. So how would you encourage young people to come to that understanding that the honeymoon phase will come to an end at some point, but it's how you actually adapt to the new intimacy in the relationship during these phases? How would you encourage them with something like that? Patrick or Claudia or Jan, I don't know which one of you want to go first. You can just pick up your hand.
Yeah, I want to take this first. I want to say to all the young people out there, be very careful when you start a sexual relationship, because you can actually be in a sexual relationship without having any intimacy.
Right.
So I want to beseech you, I want to really beg you, put in the work. So in order for intimacy starts with communication. So I start showing and sharing parts of me by what I tell you. So first, that is how I start sharing myself. That's how I'm sharing myself with you at the moment. The final step should be physical intimacy. That should not be your first step.
First step, yeah.
Yeah, that should be your final step, not the first one. But because they flip it over later in marriage, people who have started with a sexual relationship then have problems in that area. And they really find that they have intimacy issues because they didn't put the work in up front. And I really want to encourage the people, first get to know that person, build the trust. Because when you have the trust, you feel comfortable in making yourself vulnerable to them. And that will just give you better and deeper levels of intimacy as it grows.
Right.
Thank you, Hilda. Claudia,
I would certainly agree with that. Melanie, like you say, a lot of couples believe that the honeymoon phase is going to last forever. And we all know that it doesn't.
Yeah.
We refer to that as the eros love. And it's all about the passion and the chemistry. But we also know that with familiarity, that passion and chemistry, it wears down. You get used to each other. You start facing life challenges. You start, it's not just being in love anymore. It's now I have a bond to be paid. I have work pressures. I have children. There's health issues. And when you come to my age, there's hormonal issues, that all needs to be looked at. And if the eros love was the only thing keeping you together, like Hilda said, then when that dies down, what have you got left? And so one has to realize that there are different seasons in your marriage, and it will move from one season to the other. But what we want to talk about now is to say that it needs to transform into the pragma love, not the eros love. It has to become part of the pragma love, and that's defined as an enduring love. It's a love that is mature, and it's a love that has developed over time. And when you get to the pragma love, it's the type of love that doesn't require a lot of effort. You know, both parties are good at making compromises. Both parties are good at putting the other person above yourself, and making the other person happy. And you know, they say that time matures everything. Wine matures with time. Cheese matures with time. And I want to put it out there and say marriage matures with time.
Absolutely.
You know, and the more mature, the better tasting it is. It doesn't mean that there's no longer any physical love or there's no longer any chemistry. There still is, but it's not that passionate and, you know, that thing that, you know, it's the only thing that keeps you together. And I think, unfortunately, that pragma love is what so many couples miss out on. Because when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But if you could just learn perseverance and get past that stage, that pragma love has so much rewards. You know, it is so rewarding to be married 32 years later and to still be in love, to still care for each other, to still tease and play with one another. You know, we have all these funny things, you know. To this day, 32 years later, we have a game, and that is that when we change our change our bedding, when we change our duvet covers, you know, on the top of the duvet cover, they've got those press studs and you know, where you close. Well, this is one of our games, and we still do it today. We fight over how many press studs I can close more than you. And so we end up rolling. And fighting to get the duvet so that we can have more studs. And those are the things that are precious, you know. It's so precious to still have those memories. So yes, definitely. Don't go into the marriage thinking this is going to last forever, because you're going to end up in problems. And if that's the only thing that's kept you together, you're going to have nothing to keep you together in later years.
I also want to say, if you build on the chemistry love, that is where you make, in whoever listened tonight, if you build on the chemistry of the chemistry love only, that is where your marriage is going to end. But you have to bank, you know, for a future. And that is what we're talking about the pragma love, that you have to bank and invest so that when you do get to the stage of the hormonal side, men, that you now know how to handle that and still love your wife for what she's going through, because body change is taking place. And so we need to look at that. And I've seen many men walk away from their wives because they cannot handle that situation. And so it's like, where's the love? And how do you love me during the hormonal changes that's there? And I've learned that I need to embrace it even more, Jan, so that is and I have to walk a journey through this process by loving her and caring for her, because that is where we say pragma love comes in.
Definitely.
We need to take these men and put them on a boot camp or a camp with all the other men so they get this. No, I'm joking. This is beautiful advice, really beautiful advice, and truly, it's things that we can treasure. You know, even though I'm married for 24 years, there's still so much to learn and so much to grow with. I mean, I am married to a fantastic man. Don't get me wrong, you know. But there is so much, even for us at this stage in our lives, to still learn and grow with. And I don't think in any marriage, no matter how many years you're together, you're always learning something new. And I think if you can hold on to always having that new and embracing it, it makes it all worth it.
Yes. I want to put something in there again, make another statement before I say thank yous, is forgiveness is a very important aspect in anyone's marriage, and because you cannot do without forgiveness. I think that if you harbor unforgiveness, I think it just creates a lot of hardness inside each other's hearts towards one another. And I think God installed forgiveness for a reason. That's for one another. So I just wanted to put it in there for those ones that's listening and that's newlyweds. I wanted to say thank you so much, Pastor Jan and Hilda, Pastor Patrick, Claudia. You were amazing guests tonight, and thank you for your stories. And I know that whoever listened tonight really got some beautiful things out there for them. Thank you so much for sharing. Can't wait to also have that book then, Pastor Patrick, Claudia, the marriage book. Thank you for the counseling you're doing. One thing that I want to say, because I've known Pastor Jan and Pastor Hilda also. I've seen you grow in your marriage financially as well. I've seen your kids grow. I've seen you guys growing, from this level to a different level. And same as you, Pastor Patrick and Claudia, I've seen you guys grow and I've heard of you guys and everything. And it's beautiful to see, like, again, before we sign off, to see the example, not to just hear it, but to really see it and to see God really working in your lives. So I wanted to say thank you from us as Mighty Women for you guys being a part of our panel tonight. Thank you so much. We're thanking again Ina and Pipey for releasing us, and thank you for the privilege to serve, and we thank you for our viewers. But, or however, we thank Jesus for the opportunity to be able to share and to be kingdom-minded and to really share with those who really need it. So if there's any viewers that want to have a chat about your marriages, please send us on mightywomen.org.za. Send us a message. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to send you for counseling to help you through a process in your marriage. And please don't hesitate to speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you from us all. And really, we're appreciative and we are thankful for people like you who still keep it real. Thank you.
Yeah, you keep it real. You keep it real.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.